Hello. Unfortunately, due to technical errors, I won't be able to live stream my vlog for the unforeseeable future. So I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to record the video and then upload it. So you can still comment on it, you know, post on my, I'll try to remember to put posts on my community tab so we can discuss things if you need. But hopefully for now this will solve the problem, and I do sincerely apologize. Today, the video is about compromise. Now, in today's world, a lot of people don't do that, and they don't teach their kids to compromise. They learn how to demand and things like that. But compromise is a big part of adulthood, and a lot of people do it without realizing it. But it's something that can be done subtly. It's something that can be even suggested, right? You know, they could say, well, we're not getting anywhere, let's compromise. And basically what a compromise is when a group of people, two people, are trying to get what they want, right? But neither party or no one in the group is willing to budge on their demands. So that's when a compromise comes in. And basically it means each person or each party involved gives up something in order for somebody else to have something, right? So you demand X, Y, and Z, and somebody else demands A, B, C, and you're like, I'm not giving up X, Y, Z. And they're saying, I'm not giving up A, B, C. Well, then it's not going to go forward. You're not going to progress anywhere. But if the two parties agree, well, I'm willing to give up Y, but X is very important to me. And the other party says, okay, well, I'm willing to give up C, but B is really important to me. So see, that's when you're working towards a common goal so that you get part of what you need, and the other person also gets part of what they need. That's an important need. Now, some people will call it wants. I want X, Y, Z. And I even said that, right? Because that's a kind of a habit. But we don't always get what we want as children, as adults, in any stage of life, right? Because what we think we may want may not actually be what we want, and we may not realize it. Or as a child, it may it may be unsafe for them. It may be something that could hurt them or someone else in the family. So obviously you wouldn't compromise for danger or inappropriate things. But the child may not understand that. So that's where a little bit of explanation comes in at their appropriate understanding level. Now remember, and this, I can't stress this enough, because this has happened recently. Just because someone is a specific biological age does not, under any circumstances, mean that that individual's mental level is the exact same, nor will they act the same as other people that specific biological age. Period. That's just the way it works. You could be 75 and still struggle greatly and only have this much understanding. But everybody just assumes, oh, I'm looking at you. You are of this biological age. Oh, you automatically have it. Or you're automatically like every other 75-year-old. No. Mm-mm. Nope. And that even means people that are neurotypical, right? Because everybody has a bad brain day, right? It's That's just the way it works. So while you are impressing upon someone to understand your side, that's one of the factors you have to consider. You know, what is their actual age of comprehension and understanding? Because you could look at somebody and you may not know or tell, but you're making grandiose assumptions that their biological age is this, so bam. And that's not the case. So when you're using compromise, you have to understand the other person. Now, granted, sometimes you have to compromise with strangers. So you can't just get to know the person. You have to literally, like, kind of figure it out as you go. But compromise is a good life skill to learn, because nobody has to give in to your demands, and you don't have to give in to other people's demands, right? You have to make that decision. But in order for both parties or the group to go forward or solve a problem or reach an agreement to disagree type deal, compromise. Okay? So in that compromise, as a parent or an adult, you have to figure out what is the most important thing that you need. Is it A? Is it B? Is it C? Is it whatever, right? And I'm using the letters to, substitute for what the items are, okay? So if you need, say, letter B, and you're not willing to give it up because it's something that can help your family, something that can help you function, just whatever, or help your child, and then that's what's called non-negotiable, right? So A and C, you can give up one or the other, or maybe change them a little, right? And then the other person that needs X, Y, and Z, they're not willing to give up Z. So to them, that's non-negotiable, right? So in that case, you have multiple things, right? 4 letters that you both can discuss respectfully, to figure out how to make this work for both people or the members of the group that's involved. Now, one piece of advice I'd like to give about compromise, and this is kind of hard, but sometimes you have to walk away. You just have to walk away. Because and you'll realize this, you'll realize it, but with not really realizing it. Not all compromises work. Some people are just so entrenched and dug in, they're like, no, I want everything my way. You have to stop because I'm blah, 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 blah. Okay? Well, but what you are demanding of me, I cannot do. Because it's not right for me, or it's not right for my child, it's not right for my spouse, or whomever. And that's when you just kind of say, okay. And then you just write that off as a life lesson and go from there. Now, does that mean I'm saying, walk away from everything you can't win? No. No. Fight for it. Sometimes you gotta fight for it. Sometimes you gotta fight the big guy. Not God, but, corporations, agencies, and things like that, because they're not used to compromising. They're used to just getting their way. And that's it. End of story. And regular people don't stand a chance. And that's the way it's been for a long time. Oh, they like you when you're... I'm getting distracted again. But, yeah. But if they're not willing to compromise, then you walk away. Because the safety of your child, the safety of you, your spouse, your family, that's paramount. And that's why you were trying to compromise. Or that's one of the reasons. Or you could have, for whatever reason, to compromise. And yes, I'm kind of basing this on some of the things that have happened recently. Which is the reason yesterday's vlog was not done. And it's just sort of been chaotic. But I demanded a few things. And for my specific reasons. And I was ignored. But it put the safety and mental health of the Midland in jeopardy. And others. And others. It wasn't just the Midland that I was demanding this for. Now, was I willing to compromise? Yes. Had they listened, had they even bothered to treat me like a human, I would have listened. But they didn't. They just kept insisting that they were correct, and I didn't know anything. I didn't know what I was talking about, and I had no standing or right to do what I was doing, even though I did. They just didn't like it. Because I challenged their authority. I challenged their power, and they didn't like that. So, there was no compromise. It was either everything was their way or bad things were going to happen. So I walked away, and so did the Midland. Because there was no humanity. Does that make us cowards? No. That just means we didn't have time for their drama. That tells us that they aren't willing to even look at anything remotely bad about themselves or their company or anything like that. They just wanted to basically say, we don't care if you have a problem. We don't want to discuss it. We don't want to compromise. We don't want to fix the issue. We just want you to shut up about it. Or as the company put it, spreading misinformation. But it wasn't misinformation. It was just something they didn't like to hear. But they didn't compromise with me. They didn't even compromise with the Midland. They just kept insisting that age, biological age, correlated with mental understanding. Now, as many of you know, and for those of you that are new and don't know, we, here in the Narwhal Blessing, we have quite a few disabilities ranging from physical to behavioral to social emotional, things like that, right? I guess social emotional is a disability, but we struggle. We all struggle. But some of the assumptions that they were making, and they were assumptions, severe assumptions, it didn't work out because they insisted that nobody else could do anything on behalf of the Midland or me or anybody else. So we did what was best for us and we walked away. I tried to start out with saying, okay, this A, B, and C needs to happen. Because there's basically, when the law was broken, that was the only option on our side. And they said no. They didn't even want to compromise with me. They wanted to do what they wanted to do, and they did. So we endured it for a while. And then at one point, when it got extremely bad, and I meant because this problem just kept happening and it was progressing and they weren't stopping it. They didn't take the problem seriously. At one point, I just kind of, volcanoed everywhere. Which, yes, was very immature and inappropriate of me, but after a while, when I'm sitting here trying to tell them and explain to them, okay, this is how this works. And they would tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about. How? Okay, I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to the Midland. So, it happened. But when you compromise or try to compromise, you won't always even get that other party to even come to the table, so to speak. They will, no, we know better than you. We this and this. They'll give you a laundry list of reasons why they should be the only ones out of all of this to get what they want. And when that happens, and it will, right? And it doesn't matter if it's a big corporation or a little corporation or another person. When that happens, you have to stop for a moment and ask yourself, is this compromise going to be mutually beneficial? And if the answer is no, then walk away. Because it's just going to be, if the problem isn't solved, it's just going to keep snowballing, right? See, there's the snowball effect again. And if you immediately give in, and I know this is hard because we all want to make other people happy, at least we should. But at the same time, while doing that, we have to take care of ourselves. But if giving in to just them, or the company, or the group of people, or the opposite person, you're not really compromising. You're just giving somebody else what they want at the expense of yourself. And this is very important because you can compromise respectfully, right? You don't have to scream or yell. And yeah, I'll admit I do that. But that's only when you treat me bad or my children bad for so long. Or you're not willing to speak to me like I'm an adult with respect and dignity. If you speak to me with respect and dignity and kindness, you're going to get a whole other mama. But you treat me like crap repeatedly, just like with everybody else. No, you're not going to get the happy little mama you see in these videos, I'm going to let you have it because everybody deserves at least those couple of things, no matter what they say or what they do. But when they're not willing to compromise, sorry, WYSIWYG here, then at that point you need to decide, is this worth it? Is the health and well-being of your family, your child, yourself worth pushing that compromise? And I'm not going to say yes and I'm not going to say no because each one of you live your own individual lives. But that's one question you need to ask yourself. And if what you need is something that they have and you cannot compromise with them, you cannot get through to them, then at that point, when you walk away, you may have to find another solution. You may have to find another resource. You may have to find something else that works better. Now, will that happen overnight? No. You may have to go to somewhere else and compromise. You may have to go to, a different entity, a different company, a different group, and then start the process all over. But now keep in mind, like I said a few minutes ago, nobody has to compromise, right? Everybody can just demand and stand there and stare at you and be like, well, give me what I want. I'm not giving you anything in return, no matter what you say or do. Just give me what I want and I'll be on my way. No, you don't have to do that. I mean, unless it's like breaking the law or somebody dangerous. But for general purposes, you don't have to compromise with others, just like they don't have to compromise with you. And that's the second thing. You should try to compromise. You may not get everything you want, but you also don't have to compromise when somebody approaches you. You can stick with it and say, no, this is what is right for me. This is what is right for my children. This is what is right for my family. I'm not budging. I'm not budging. And if you believe that it's right in here, then it's right for you. But keep in mind, you don't have to be rude about it. You just stick to it, right? And then if they walk away, they walk away. But set your boundaries. And I don't think I've discussed setting boundaries yet, but that's another good one. But set your boundaries and say, you will not cross this line with me. And then guard that boundary. Do not let them cross. And if they don't like that, that is their problem. If they don't like the way that you are returning their treatment or treating them, that is their problem. Okay? Now, with that being said, you won't always get what you want even if you stick to your guns and demand it. You will not. You sometimes will have to walk away. Like if they approach you or, whatever, and they aren't willing to compromise, or you aren't willing to compromise because it's something very, very important, you can still walk. Now, compromise can start at a very early age. Teaching it, right? Because it also can teach your child decision making, right? Because, for example, when one of the multitude was young, they wanted to stay up all night and make their own bedtime. They were about 7 or 8, school age. And I said, oh, well, I don't think that that's going to be healthy. And I don't think that that's going to be a good thing when you go to school the next day. Oh, no, Mama, I'll be fine. Okay. Well, how about this? So then I presented them with a series of options to choose from. And I told them to take their time and think about it, right? Because I don't want them to just pick what sounds good. And, I want them to really think about it. And I would answer any questions they have, right? Because they were, like I said, 7, 8. And they thought about it. And we compromised. They didn't get to stay up all night and then go to school the next day and, sleep during class. No, they did not get to do that. They compromised and picked something that worked for them and something that worked for me. And it all worked. And then I gave them that choice. And then in return, they were able to help by learning more. Because they got to make a big kid decision, right? And sometimes that can help if you present it that way. Not to belittle the child, not to talk down to the child, but to make them understand that this is the kind of thing that older kids and adults do. We make decisions, we make compromises, and by learning this now, when you're an adult or an older kid, it'll be so much easier. And they were able to later on do that. Make a decision that was beneficial for them, but yet also was beneficial for others. And then when people tried to compromise with them and say, hey, instead of this, how about we do this? Or when they tried to compromise with others, that's, it worked. Because they already had the skills, the techniques. They did it respectfully. There was no crying or arguing or no, I don't want to do that. No. They knew that they don't always get what they want. And the other people don't always get what they want, but they could find a middle common ground. And it would work out for everybody. And then I moved to the next part, which was, what is important to you Sorry, my fan's running funny. But what is important to you that you're just not willing to compromise, right? Health, safety, mental health. Wow, cracked my finger. Things like that. And they learned how to do that. But do it with respect and kindness and be like, you know what, I'm really not going to compromise that. So how about we do this and then offer something else, right? Because a compromise is like a conversation. And I compare conversation to a tennis game. And that's something for yet another video. I've got a lot up in here that just needs to escape. Yeah, my marbles are rattling today. So they learned several skills with learning the compromise, not only putting themselves first, but putting others first and keeping themselves level, right? Not putting the other person so high on a pedestal that all they get is what they want and nothing more. You never get what you want. No. Equal, right? And sometimes they learn that people walk away because if you're not willing to give them what they want at the snap of their fingers and on their demand, they're not going to have anything to do with you. That's a hard lesson to learn, but it happens. And then sometimes they learned, okay, well, they're not even going to compromise with me. They don't want to even hear my side of it. They don't want to understand anything. So I've got better things to do. I'm going to go over here and they can just do what they want. See? So there are quite a few different lessons to be learned and things to be had by teaching your children how to compromise. And also the emotional part. Because certain things, certain topics, certain compromises can hurt feelings. At least when it's suggested. And it's okay to say, okay, well, that suggestion kind of hurt. Or, how about instead of doing that, let's try this way, and then rewording it, or maybe doing something a little bit different. But one big thing that I've learned from this parenting journey is no matter how much we want to protect our kids, short of infants that can't walk and talk and feed themselves, we can't protect them from everything. Now, should we monitor that and make sure that there's no major physical, mental damage? Of course, by all means. Boundary, just set that boundary, whether it's with family, friends, co-workers, a company, it doesn't matter. Set that boundary. But at the same time, don't put your children in a bubble, right? Because life isn't the movies. Life isn't a television script. It happens. But when you set that boundary for the compromises or the treatment or whatever, you're also teaching your child, hey, you have value, you have worth, and don't let anybody take that away from you by treating you badly. Now, will your child understand that right away? And that is a big subject, so no, they won't. But you should also impart to them, they can't control other people. You can express, hey, I don't like the way you did that, and I don't like the way it made me feel. That doesn't make them a weakling or whatever other people are saying these days about people that express their feelings. That doesn't make them weak. That doesn't make them anything but a very educated person about themselves and the world around them. And that's all it is. But see, that could lead into, hey, maybe instead of doing it this way, maybe we should try it this way. And if, again, that's just a simple little compromise, a suggestion. And if somebody else doesn't, you can't do anything to stop it. So teaching compromise can lead to a lot of positive things. Now, the flip side of that is it can also lead to a lot of negative things. And you have to practice both sides. You have to practice both sides. So that way, if you have a child with superpowers, they know when they're being manipulated, or at least can pick it out and associate, oh wait, I remember, I don't like the way this makes me feel, so I don't have to agree to it because I have this boundary and they're pushing me, or go with their gut feeling. However it works, because everybody with superpowers has their own way of learning about life and learning how to do things. So there's no set way. But you have to also discuss that with them, right, at an appropriate age, right? I mean, a 2-year-old is not going to understand massive psychological things, but a 12-year-old might, you know? Or if they see you setting the example enough on their behalf, they'll eventually catch on and be like, oh, well, when this happened, Mom did this. So maybe if this happens when Mom isn't around, I can do this, and then just follow the steps, you see? So, again, setting the example. I think I did this one. But setting that example can also help, right? On behalf of your family, your child, things of that nature. And then showing them how to compromise. That's a big thing. But, again, there, you can't control others. So when you're trying to set the example, you can't set it up and say, okay, we got to play act this, we got to do this. No. Life doesn't work that way for anybody, you know. But yeah, so teaching the art of compromise is a big thing. So keep in mind, compromise is just two people or a group of people that can get the things that they need, and it'll work out, right? It'll solve problems, you know, but you won't get everything you need, and neither will the other person, right? And teaching it starting at a young age by giving options, reasonable options, right? Or just saying, hey, how about this? And introducing it that way, that's the other thing. But not sugarcoating it. Don't put them in a bubble, right? Because then they won't know what to do when it didn't work, because they'll think, well, it always worked when I was a child. How come this adult isn't acting the way I want them to act? You know, and then there would be a lot of confusion. Don't sugarcoat it, but also don't make them, you know, associate bad things with it. And then teach them the boundaries of it, right? Because they need to know when to walk away. They need to know when to say, hold up, this isn't right. I don't like this. And then teach them how to do it with respect and kindness for the other person, no matter how the other person is reacting, right? We've discussed the gray rock technique, things like that. My neighbor's dogs. I like doggies. But, yeah, so there's several different little things that you can use alongside teaching them compromise and, you know, expressing their needs to get what they need while giving somebody else, you know. And don't forget, level. It doesn't matter what superpower anybody has. Everybody's level, right? Don't allow them to keep putting people up here while they stay down here. And it's not rude to say, I'm equal with you. That's not rude. That's advocacy. And even though people in society and everything else will be like, well, that's just rude. No, it's not. It's stating a fact. Everyone is equal. It doesn't matter how much you have in your bank account. It doesn't matter what position you are in a company. It doesn't matter what's going on in your life, where you live, how you live. You're equal. Unless you break the law. Then you're not exactly equal. But for most of society, you're equal. It doesn't matter. So everybody should be afforded the same dignity, respect, and rights. And, you know, that's just the way it should be. Is it that way? No. Has it been that way? No. But maybe someday. right? Equal. Yeah, I know. I said I like dogs, and now I'm doing this. But yeah, maybe I should get a big whiteboard and put back here. Anyway, I distract. Well, like I said at the beginning, this is not a live video, and I do apologize for that. I am working on the problem, and I'm trying. It's just taking a while, and unfortunately, technology does not compromise. It's either, hey, I'm going to work today, or hey, I'm going to break, and then you got to do this. You just got to roll with it. I had a family member once, and she was very smart when it came to technology. She ran one of the first punch card computers in the area where we live, and she did payroll. She was an accountant. And I know a lot of you are not familiar with punch card computers, but basically it looked like a Scantron sheet, right? It was a long brown ticket, and it had holes punched in it in a sequence, in a certain order. And this punch card computer is massive. I mean, it could take up a whole wall, half a room. That's how old it is. But you could make these punch cards, and you would feed it into the machine, right? And the little teeth would look for, oh, this punch card, if the hole is here, then this information is needed. Or if the hole is here, this is what we're inputting. And then it would have a printout. This lady learned how to run one. She didn't back down. When they, oh, you can't do that, you can't do it. Well, I work for this company, I do payroll, I have to have something, because it was a lot of employees, she was entering it in a ledger. She's like, this is ridiculous. Modernize, move on. And they did, and she learned how to run it. But she had this saying, and when I was in the tech field for a very long time, and I still kind of dabble a little, the technology is only as smart as the people that program it or build it. And I use that saying when things break down. It's like, well, it's okay. Things break down. And maybe somebody was having an off day. I do put a little more positive spin on it. But at the same time, it's like, you know, not everything in this world is perfect. But it's only as smart as the person that built it. That's it. So that's another statement that we could break down and actually use in other parts of life, because I've done that, at least, you know, in the space in between my ears. But yeah, so hopefully the tech issue will be solved soon, and then it won't be so bad. It'll be a little better, and we can maybe chat. But like I said, I'm gonna put a post in my community tab. That way, if you have any questions or comments or anything, you can go there. I do try to pop in a couple of times. I also do gaming videos Monday through Friday, so, you know, I check it, everything a lot. I do have a Discord now for parenting. There's 2 Discord links on my YouTube channel. So click the parenting one, and it should take you to the forum, and we can even talk there. But yeah, like, share, subscribe. If you know of somebody that's just kind of struggling with life or parenting or caregiving of other people, share my videos with them. I mean, that's the point. I'm hoping to help, but these are also have a personal reason. But yeah, share them. That way they can enjoy the clutter of my office and the world. Yeah. I'm also an artist, and I run a small business, so there's always stuff everywhere, at least in my office, because I'm always got this project and that project, and there's a project back here, and there's a project there. So yeah. Alright, well, I have taken up enough of your time. The next vlog may also be recorded. I'm not too sure yet. So yeah, just keep plugging away. Make sure you eat your vegetables. Drink plenty of water. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Get some sleep and take care of your mental health, your physical health, everything in between. Until I see you again, have a great morning, a wonderful afternoon, and a superb but sometimes silly evening after work.